Welcome back to the program. So it is another day, and yes, it is Washington, D.C. So sadly, we can't have another day back to back with only great news. Important stuff that has gone down today that we must address. We have a call to action that is urgent, and I need everyone's attention, okay? Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to play you a very short clip, audio, so you can hear for yourself why we need to be concerned. Hang on one sec. Here it is right now.
The game that Putin's been playing is about to change. He's going to be hit and hit hard by the United States when it comes to sanctions. China, the game you're playing with Russia is about to change. If you keep buying cheap Russian oil to fuel Putin's war machine, there'll be a 500% tariff on all of your products coming into the United States.
Now, let me stop it right there. This is Lindsey Graham, okay, the light and the loafer senator from South Carolina, the establishment rhino globalist warmonger, and Da Dick or Richard Blumenthal, appropriate name, by the way. The two of them went to Ukraine to meet with Zelensky. And after meeting with Zelensky, who probably offered them some type of secret amount of cash or some kind of, maybe little Ukrainian boys, whatever it is that he offered, he then gets in front of the camera and he says that he's going to issue 500% tariffs on China and any country that does business with Russia, completely undermining President Trump, the executive branch, and the ability to negotiate tariffs on the world stage. This is terrifying, and it gets only more terrifying right now as you hear Dick Blumenthal and what he has to say. Listen to this. Right here.
He doesn't understand what 82 senators coming together from both sides of the aisle mean.
Did you hear that? He doesn't understand, Vladimir Putin is what he's directing it at, 82 senators. You hear that? 82 senators, which I'll explain why that's insane in a second. Listen closely.
From both sides of the aisle mean in terms of practical import. And these sanctions will cripple his economy. They will be bone-crushing to a nation that is basically, as one of our colleagues once said, a gas station with nuclear arms.
He just called the entire country of Russia, led by a former KGB agent in Vladimir Putin, a, quote, gas station with nuclear weapons. These people are absolutely batshit insane. They're going to start World War III, okay? That's what could happen here. Listen to the rest of this.
Station with nuclear arms. He has one resource, and we are going to throttle that resource as a...
And he has one resource, and we're going to throttle that resource, okay? This is what this crazy bastard just said. So what's happening here? Well, they're trying to undermine President Trump and his authority to negotiate trade deals and tariffs. Okay? Now, here's what I put on X. Proudly. I put right here. I'm going to read it to you. Okay. Lighten the loafers, Senator Lindsey Graham, the war-mongering globalist scumbag, and denying Dick Blumenthal, fitting name, of course, another leftist globalist ass clown, want to impose 500% tariffs on Russia and or China. These crazy bastards are going to cause World War III. They say that they have 82 votes in the Senate to do this. Even if President Trump publicly comes out and says that he denounces what the Senate is doing and that he's against it, and even if he vetoes it, if they pass this next week, Doesn't matter. Because you need 67 votes minimum to override a presidential veto. And if they say, allegedly, that they have 82 votes, that is more than enough to override President Trump's veto. This is scary. This is dangerous as hell. This is a half-baked idea without real thought behind it. And the consequences of going after two nuclear powers like this? What the hell is this ass clown, warmongerer, Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal thinking? This is insanity, okay? So I need you to blow up the phones, social media accounts, emails, whatever. Senator Graham's D.C. office is 202-224-5972. 202-224-5972. His Greenville office is 864-250-1417. 864-250-1417. His Columbia, South Carolina office is 803-933-0112. Again, 803-933-0112. And then Senator Richard Blumenthal in Washington is 202-224, was that 2823, 202-224-2823. Hartford, Connecticut office, 860-258-6940, 860-258-6940. And his Bridgeport, Connecticut office is 203-330-0598, 203-330-0598. Please do not wait. Call them. Find their email addresses if you can. Find them on social media. Hit them up and tell them to back down. This is dangerous, and this could lead to who knows what, okay? President Trump is the one that should be taking care of foreign policy. President Trump can issue tariffs. President Trump can take off tariffs. President Trump can levy and, adjust tariffs. Okay? This is crazy that the Senate is trying to usurp the executive branch's power by potentially having more votes than needed to override a potential veto from the President of the United States dealing with foreign policy in which he's trying to stop wars, and these assholes are trying to start wars. There are more than one way to figure out a way to rein in Russia, Ukraine, China, any other country around the world. And you do it by negotiations. You do it by peace through strength so that you don't have to start these foreign wars. Please, folks, take this serious and get on the horn. Next. So there's a shocking claim, and it's not really that shocking because I talked about this when it happened. I said point blank that they're hiding how dangerous the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment truly was. I even pointed out back then that the EPA and their website literally changed the definition of certain toxins that were spilled out into the ground and into the groundwater and into, the Ohio River and all of that. I explained all of that. You probably all remember it. We also looked into the fact that this could have been a saboteur that actually did something to get this train to do this, to derail. Not to mention the fact that it's in red Ohio, where there are tons of Trump supporters and voters, which of course this past auto pen administration didn't even bother to go to for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. And then they show up for their little Photoshop. Meanwhile, President Trump, when he was running for office, immediately went down there to show his leadership. So here's what this says. The auto pen administration, I won't even call it the Biden administration ever again. I'll never ever say that word again. The auto pen administration was slow to react after the 2023 derailment of a Norfolk Southern freight train hauling carcinogenic chemicals near the small town of East Palestine, Ohio. The air was filled with plumes of dangerous gas during a, quote, controlled release burn. Despite residents reporting mysterious rashes and headaches following the massive toxic chemical explosion, as well as the death of chickens, pets, other animals, marine life, and other wildlife, the Otto Penn administration was very slow to respond. As a matter of fact, they didn't even care. They were shamed into going there. They were too busy sending money to foreign countries like Ukraine. Almost 7 months later, the Otto Penn administration finally decided to send FEMA executive Jim McPherson to assess the status and address the needs of the people. How many months? 7 months. 7 months it took the Otto Penn administration to go to East Palestine, Ohio, to assess the damage and look at what happened and to pretend to give a flying you-know-what about the people of Ohio. In an exclusive from News Nation, new documents from FEMA obtained through the Freedom of Information Act reveal extensive coordination between FEMA, the fake White House, and other government agencies with serious concerns about the impact on the residents' health being censored or buried. Okay? Leslie Pacey, an investigative journalist with the Government Accountability Project, told News Nation FEMA knew healthcare was the number one issue. They also knew that they called this plume of toxic smoke, okay? And they knew that it would be potential to have cancerous clusters. The agency noted the occurrence of a cancer cluster in East Palestine is not zero and expressed the need for a, quote, tripwire to identify cancer clusters. Pacey then added, quote, it was only discussed internally, and it actually was discussed all the way up to the fake White House. The Otto Penn administration officials and National Security Council officials were discussing the dangers of the cancer cluster and the potential for serious adverse health risks and issues, and discussed whether or not to release this information to the public and the media. Despite the concerns, the Otto Penn administration never released this information and this report to the public at all. There are so many investigations that need to be done. There are so many indictments that need to come down. There are so many criminals in the last 4 years that need to be incarcerated. It boggles your mind of how many, okay? And you almost need 5 FBI directors, 5 CIA directors temporarily. You know, it's like you need 10,000 or 20,000, MAGA prosecutors just to get through a quarter of the criminals that are out there. It's unbelievable. Gosh, I hope and pray that they're secretly and quietly getting all of this stuff ready, and they're doing these investigations, and they're just being quiet about it because they don't want to tip people off. That's my hope. I've heard from other people that justice is coming. I don't know when it's coming, but look, justice done right can take time. And let's just hope and pray that that is what's happening. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is this. So there's this new rumor, and that's exactly what it is, because it's totally not true. The left are so defeated, and they have nothing left, and they know that Doge has been successful. They know that Doge is not going anywhere. They know that Doge is going to become eventually codified, because President Trump said that just recently, that one of the things that he promises people is he's going to do whatever he can to codify the findings of Doge. So now the new thing is, let's just lie. Let's just lie and say that because we cut the most fraudulent agency in the entire government, USAID, completely out and fired all the people, that now somehow there are, quote, 300,000 or 400,000 people that have died because we stopped giving sex changes to Guatemalans and doing Sesame Street in Iraq. Really? Show us the bodies. Where are the names? Where are the headstones? Huh? You're a bunch of liars. All of you are liars. Okay? So, here's how big of a liars that you actually are. We've got video, and you're going to hear the audio right now, of thank you, President Trump. That's right. Thank you, President Trump. And guess where it's coming from? Oh, I don't know. Gaza? Where they said that all this aid was not going to, and all these people are dying and everything else? Really? Well, apparently the people in Gaza didn't get the message. Okay? Listen to this.
Thank you, America!
Thank you, America. So the first one, he says, thank you, America. And then I believe someone says, thank you, President Trump. Let's listen again. It's only 16 seconds.
Thank you, America!
Somebody right in the beginning, I think, says, thank you, President Trump, and then thank you, America. It's hard to hear. But the bottom line is this. These people are getting their aid. No, there is not 300,000 or 400,000 people that have died because U.S. aid was cut. Okay? That is nothing but prostitute lies. Okay? And if it was true, where are the bodies? Where is the proof? Where is the receipts? Answer, there is none. Why? Because it didn't happen. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.